There is a reason you paused here. There is a reason your attention locked onto this message when countless others passed you by. Out of all the noise, all the distractions, all the endless scrolling and fleeting thoughts, this is where your spirit stopped. And you may not fully understand why yet, but something inside you felt it. A pull, a pause, a quiet but undeniable whisper saying, "Wait, this is for you. This is not coincidence. This is not random. This is not just another message blending into the background of your day. This is a divine interruption. You were moving through your routine, perhaps thinking about your responsibilities, your worries, your unanswered questions. Maybe your mind has been heavy lately. Maybe you've been carrying something you haven't spoken out loud. Maybe you felt a strange shift, something you couldn't explain, but you knew deep down something isn't the same anymore. And right in the middle of that, this message found you. Why now? Why you? Because heaven does not interrupt without intention. When the divine steps into your moment, it is never casual. It is precise. It is deliberate. It is timed with a level of perfection that human understanding cannot replicate. And right now, in this exact second, your life is aligned with something spiritually significant. Archangel Michael is not distant. He is not symbolic. He is present. And his presence is not passive. It is active, alert, and purposeful. You may have felt it before without knowing what it was. That sudden urge to stop. That unexplained awareness. That moment where everything around you seemed normal, but inside, something shifted. Your spirit became still, your thoughts slowed, your awareness sharpened. That was not your imagination. That was the beginning of this moment. Because something is happening around you that you cannot yet see, but your spirit can feel. And when your spirit begins to feel before your mind understands, it means heaven is already moving ahead of you. Think about the last few days. The patterns. The conversations. The emotions that came out of nowhere. The thoughts that didn't feel like your own. The sudden moments of clarity followed by confusion. The pull to isolate or the urge to question everything you thought was certain. None of that was random. It was preparation. Preparation for this exact moment where everything slows down long enough for you to hear what truly matters. Because here is the truth most people miss. When something spiritually significant is about to happen, life doesn't always get louder. It gets quieter, more intentional, more precise, almost as if time itself is holding its breath waiting for you to notice. And now, you are noticing. You are here. You are listening. And that means you were chosen to receive what comes next. Not everyone will understand this. Not everyone will feel what you're feeling right now. Some would scroll past. Some would dismiss it. Some would never even pause long enough to consider that this moment carries weight. But you did. And that difference matters more than you realize. Because divine moments are not given to the distracted. They are revealed to the aware. Right now, awareness is awakening within you. You are beginning to see beyond the surface, beyond the routine, beyond the ordinary patterns of life. You are stepping, whether you realize it or not, into a space where the spiritual and the physical begin to overlap. And in that space, messages become clearer. Protection becomes stronger. Guidance becomes undeniable. Archangel Michael stands in that space. Not far away. Not waiting. But present, right now, at the intersection of your attention and your awakening. This is why you had to stop. This is why you had to listen. Because what is about to unfold in your life cannot be navigated with distraction. It requires awareness. It requires stillness. It requires you to recognize that this moment is not ordinary. Something is shifting. Something is aligning. Something is approaching. And this message is your first confirmation that you are not alone in it. You are being guided. You are being protected. You are being positioned. But before anything else can unfold, you had to be interrupted. And now that you are here, fully present, fully aware, the next revelation can finally reach you. Type "I am present" in the comments if you feel this moment. Blessing code 2020 is now activated. There comes a moment in every spiritually significant season when the silence breaks, not with noise, not with chaos, but with authority. A presence steps forward, not to confuse you, but to clarify what your spirit hath been trying to understand. And this is that moment. Because now, the voice behind the interruption begins to reveal itself. It is not distant. It is not symbolic. It is not imagined. It is the voice of heaven's warrior, the one assigned to stand between you and what you cannot yet see. Archangel Michael steps forward, and when he does, everything in the unseen realm shifts its attention. His presence is not gentle in the way the world defines gentleness. He is powerful, steady, unwavering, and carries a weight that does not crush you but grounds you. It steadies your thoughts. It sharpens your awareness. It causes everything within you to become alert, as if your spirit suddenly recognizes something ancient, something eternal, something true. You may not have words for it, but you feel it. That inner stillness mixed with intensity, that quiet strength rising in your chest, that is not emotion. That is recognition. Your spirit knows when divine authority is near, and right now, it is responding. Archangel Michael does not arrive without purpose. He does not speak without intention. Every moment of his presence carries instruction, protection, and revelation. And what he is bringing into your awareness now is not something casual. It is not a suggestion. It is a directive. Because there are things happening around you that require more than passive hope. They require spiritual awareness, alignment, and readiness. This is why his voice cuts through distraction. This is why it feels urgent, even if you cannot yet explain why. Urgency in the spirit does not come from fear. It comes from precision. It comes from knowing that timing matters, that alignment matters, that your attention in this moment matters more than you realize. You have been sensing something, haven't you? A shift in energy, a subtle tension, a feeling that something is building beneath the surface of your life. You tried to ignore it, to rationalize it, to explain it away with logic, but the feeling remained. That is because what you are sensing is not physical, it is spiritual movement. And when spiritual movement begins, heaven does not leave you unaware. It sends guidance. It sends protection. It sends a voice strong enough to reach you through the noise. That voice is speaking now. Archangel Michael's role is not only to protect, but to reveal. To stand at the edge of what is hidden and bring clarity to what has been obscured. And right now, he is drawing your attention to something critical. You are not as alone in your situation as you may have felt. There has been protection around you even in moments you thought you were exposed. There has been intervention even when you believed nothing was happening. There has been a presence standing guard, redirecting paths, blocking unseen obstacles, and holding back outcomes that were never meant to reach you. But protection alone is not enough if you remain unaware of it. That is why this moment is happening. That is why his voice is reaching you now. Because awareness activates alignment, and alignment changes outcomes. You are being called to listen differently, not with your ears alone, but with your spirit. Because what is being communicated is not just information, it is direction. It is preparation for what is about to unfold. There are decisions ahead, moments that will require clarity, situations that will test your discernment. And Archangel Michael is stepping forward now so that when those moments arrive, you are not reacting blindly. You are responding with awareness. This is where many miss it. They wait for visible signs, for undeniable proof, for something obvious enough that they cannot question it. But spiritual guidance rarely begins with the obvious. It begins with awareness, with a knowing that cannot be fully explained but cannot be ignored. And right now, that knowing is being placed within you. His presence is also a warning, not of danger meant to frighten you, but of importance meant to focus you. It is a signal that what comes next in your life carries weight. That your actions, your attention, your decisions in the coming moments are not as small as they seem. They are connected to something larger, something unfolding beyond what you can currently see. Archangel Michael stands not just beside you, but ahead of you, already aware of what is forming. And because of that, his voice carries both authority and urgency. He is not asking for your attention. He is commanding it, not to control you, but to position you correctly. This is the moment where you decide how you will listen. Will you treat this as just another passing thought? Or will you recognize it for what it is, a direct alignment between your life and divine instruction? Because now that his voice has reached you, you are no longer unaware. You are no longer disconnected. You are no longer outside of the moment. You are in it. And what happens next will depend on how you respond to what you have just heard. Type "I am listening" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 3030 is now activated. There is a difference between a message that informs you and a message that interrupts you. What you are experiencing right now is not gentle suggestion. It is divine urgency. And urgency in the spirit does not come without reason. It does not rise without purpose. It does not press on your attention unless something ahead requires your immediate awareness. This is why you feel it in your chest, in your thoughts, in the way your focus keeps returning here no matter how many times you try to treat this as ordinary. Because your spirit recognizes what your mind is still trying to process. This moment carries weight, and that weight is tied to timing. Time in the physical world moves in a straight line, predictable, measurable, easy to ignore. But time in the spiritual realm is different. It opens and closes like a door. It presents windows that do not remain open forever. And when those windows appear, there is always a call attached to them, a call to pay attention, to align, to respond. Right now, you are standing in one of those windows. It may not look dramatic. It may not feel overwhelming. But beneath the surface, something has shifted. A moment has opened that will not wait for you to be ready later. It is asking for your awareness now. This is why Archangel Michael's voice carries urgency. Not because something is about to harm you, but because something is about to change. And change without awareness can lead to confusion. Change without alignment can lead to missed opportunities. You have been positioned at the edge of something significant, something that will move whether you acknowledge it or not. But your experience of it, your outcome within it, depends entirely on whether you recognize this moment for what it is. You may have noticed how distractions have increased recently. Small interruptions, unnecessary thoughts, sudden urges to look away, to postpone, to come back later. That is not random. When something meaningful is about to reach you, distraction often arrives first. Not loud enough to alarm you, but persistent enough to pull you away. It is subtle. It is quiet. It sounds like your own voice saying, "You can focus on this later." But later is where many lose what was meant for now. Later is where clarity fades. Later is where alignment weakens. And this is exactly why the urgency exists. Because this is not a message meant to sit in the background of your day. It is meant to anchor you in the present, to pull you fully into awareness, to make you pause long enough to realize that something is unfolding around you that requires your attention before it passes you by. There is something forming in your life right now. You may not see it yet, but you have felt the early signs. The shift in energy, the change in patterns, the sense that something is building just beneath the surface. This is not coincidence. This is movement. And movement in the spiritual realm always reaches the physical realm eventually. The question is not whether it will arrive. The question is whether you will be prepared when it does. Archangel Michael is not calling you to panic. He is calling you to awareness. There is a difference. Panic reacts without clarity. Awareness responds with precision. And right now, precision is what you need. You are being positioned to see clearly, to recognize what matters, to avoid what does not, and to move in alignment with what is already being set in motion for you. This is why ignoring this moment carries consequence, not in the form of punishment, but in the form of disconnection. When you ignore a moment of alignment, you do not stop what is coming, but you step out of sync with it. And being out of sync creates confusion, delay, and unnecessary struggle. But when you respond, when you listen, when you allow your awareness to sharpen, you step into alignment. And alignment brings clarity, direction, and protection. You are not being asked to do something complicated. You are being asked to stay present, to resist the urge to dismiss what you feel, to resist the habit of postponing what calls for attention now. Because this moment is not asking for perfection, it is asking for your focus. Think about how many times in your life you felt something important, something significant, but you brushed it aside. You told yourself you would come back to it. You told yourself it was not urgent. And later, you realized that moment mattered more than you thought. This is not one of those moments you return to later. This is one of those moments you recognize while you are still in it. Archangel Michael's presence intensifies here because the window you are in is active. It is open, and it will not remain open indefinitely. What you do with your attention right now is shaping how you will experience what comes next. Whether you move with clarity or confusion, whether you feel guided or uncertain, whether you recognize opportunity or miss it, all of it begins with whether you honor this moment. This is why you must not ignore this call. Not because something will be taken from you, but because something is being offered to you. And offers like this do not repeat endlessly. They appear, they invite, and they wait for a response. You are here. You are aware. You are being called to stay. Do not drift now. Do not look away now. Because what comes next is already moving toward you. And this moment is your preparation. Type "I will not miss this moment" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 4040 is now activated. As this urgency settles into your spirit, understand this truth. Every time this message reaches another soul, a light is lit in a place that once felt lost. This is not about supporting a channel. It is about extending heaven's reach into lives that are waiting for this exact awakening. Scripture declares, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days." And right now, God is speaking that promise directly over you. I feel led to say this plainly. I am stepping into this moment to sow where God is moving. When you release through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving. You are planting into a harvest of transformation. into rivers of truth that flow into hearts across the world. This is a prophetic moment of action, not delay, because what you release now echoes in eternity. And as you give, may divine provision return to you multiplied, pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing. Step forward now and sow your seed with obedience. There is more happening around you than what your eyes can perceive. What you have been experiencing is not limited to what is visible, not confined to what can be explained through logic or circumstance. Beneath the surface of your daily life, behind the conversations, the routines, the familiar patterns, there has been movement, intentional, strategic, and unseen. And whether you realized it or not, you have been standing in the middle of it. You may have felt it in subtle ways. Moments where your mood shifted without reason. Times when your energy felt drained even though nothing physically demanded it. Situations that seemed simple on the outside but left you feeling unsettled within. You tried to make sense of it. You tried to explain it as stress, as coincidence, as something temporary. But deep down, something in you knew there was more to it. That knowing was not confusion. That knowing was awareness trying to rise. Because there has been a hidden battle surrounding you. Not a battle meant to destroy you, but a battle connected to your position, your path, your direction. A battle that does not always show itself through obvious conflict, but through subtle interference. Through delays that don't make sense. Through miscommunications that seem strangely timed. Through opportunities that almost come together, but then shift at the last moment. These are not random disruptions. They are signs of movement in a realm you cannot see but are very much affected by. Archangel Michael's presence becomes even more significant here because his role is not only to stand beside you, but to stand within that unseen space. To intercept what you cannot detect. To guard what you are not yet aware of. And right now, he is revealing something important. You have not been navigating your life alone, even in moments where it felt like you were. There have been things that did not reach you because they were never meant to. There have been outcomes that shifted without explanation because they were redirected. There have been paths that closed suddenly not because you failed, but because you were being protected. And without realizing it, you have already been guided through situations that could have taken a very different turn. But here is where awareness becomes critical. Protection without recognition can lead to misinterpretation. You may have thought certain delays were setbacks. You may have believed certain closed doors were losses. You may have questioned why things did not work out the way you expected. But what you could not see was what those moments were preventing. This is the hidden side of the battle. Not everything that leaves your life is a loss. Not everything that slows you down is a problem. Sometimes it is positioning. Sometimes it is redirection. Sometimes it is the quiet work of something unseen making sure you do not walk into what is not meant for you. And yet, at the same time, there have also been forces attempting to create confusion. Not to harm you directly, but to disrupt your clarity. To make you second-guess yourself. To pull your focus away from what matters. To keep you distracted long enough that you miss the alignment that is forming around you. This is how hidden battles often work, not through obvious confrontation, but through subtle influence. You may have noticed how your thoughts have felt scattered at times. How your focus has been pulled in multiple directions. How moments of clarity are followed by sudden doubt. That pattern is not accidental. It is the result of competing influences, one guiding you toward alignment, the other attempting to pull you away from it. This is why Archangel Michael steps forward not just as a protector, but as a revealer. Because once you become aware of the hidden battle, you are no longer vulnerable to its confusion. Awareness shifts your position. It allows you to see patterns instead of reacting to moments. It allows you to respond with intention instead of drifting through uncertainty. Right now, you are being shown that what you are experiencing is part of something larger. You are not simply moving through random events. You are moving through a space where unseen forces are active, where guidance and interference exist at the same time, and where your awareness determines which one influences you more. This is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to strengthen you. Because once you understand that there is more happening than what you see, you begin to move differently. You begin to pay attention to what you feel, not just what you observe. You begin to recognize when something aligns and when something disrupts. You begin to trust the subtle signals that guide you instead of dismissing them. And most importantly, you begin to realize that you are not unguarded. Archangel Michael stands within this hidden space, intercepting what you cannot see, reinforcing what is meant for you, and holding back what is not. But his presence does not remove your responsibility. It enhances it. Because now that you are aware, you are being called to stay aligned, to remain present, and to not fall back into distraction. The hidden battle is real, but so is the protection surrounding you. The difference now is that you know, and knowing changes everything. Type ISE beyond the surface in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 5050 is now activated. Something within you has been changing, and you have not been able to fully explain it. It is not something visible on the outside, not something others can easily point out, yet you feel it constantly. A shift in how you think. A shift in how you respond. A shift in what you tolerate and what you no longer have the energy to entertain. What once felt normal now feels misaligned. What once held your attention now feels empty. And what once confused you is now beginning to reveal itself with quiet clarity. This is not coincidence. This is awakening. You have not been imagining this difference. You have not been overthinking it. What you are experiencing is an internal realignment, a spiritual adjustment that is preparing you for a different level of awareness. This is why things around you may feel unfamiliar even though they have not changed. It is not the environment that has shifted first. It is you. There are moments where you feel more sensitive than usual, picking up on tones, energies, and intentions that others seem to overlook. Conversations feel heavier or lighter depending on what is behind the words. Situations feel either aligned or off, even when everything appears normal on the surface. You may have questioned this sensitivity, wondering if you are reading too much into things. But this is not overanalysis. This is perception sharpening. Your spirit has been trying to wake you up to what your physical senses alone cannot detect. This awakening often comes quietly. It does not announce itself loudly or dramatically. Instead, it unfolds through subtle discomfort, through a growing awareness that you can no longer ignore certain truths. You begin to notice patterns that were always there but hidden beneath routine. You begin to see connections between events that once felt unrelated. You begin to understand people not just by what they say, but by what they reveal without words. This is why things have felt different lately. You are no longer processing life only at the surface level. You are beginning to see deeper, to feel more, to understand beyond the obvious. And while this is a powerful shift, it can also feel unsettling at first, because awareness changes your relationship with everything. What you once accepted easily now requires discernment. What you once trusted automatically now invites reflection. What you once overlooked now stands out clearly. This can create a sense of distance, even in familiar spaces. You may feel slightly disconnected from conversations, from environments, even from people you have known for a long time. Not because something is wrong, but because your awareness is no longer at the same level it once was. Archangel Michael's presence in this moment is not separate from this awakening. It is part of it. Because awakening without guidance can feel overwhelming. It can lead to confusion, to isolation, to questioning everything at once. But you are not being left to navigate this shift alone. You are being guided through it with precision. This is why his presence feels stronger now. Because as your awareness increases, so does the need for clarity. And clarity does not come from forcing answers. It comes from allowing your perception to settle, from trusting what you feel without rushing to define it immediately. You are learning to recognize alignment in a new way. Alignment is no longer just about what looks right. It is about what feels right at a deeper level. It is about what resonates without resistance. It is about what brings a sense of steadiness rather than confusion. And as this awareness grows, you will find that your decisions begin to change naturally. You will step away from things that drain you without needing a dramatic reason. You will move toward what strengthens you without needing external validation. This is the internal shift that precedes external change. Many people try to change their circumstances first, hoping their internal state will follow. But true transformation begins within. It starts with awareness, with perception, with the ability to see clearly before acting. And that is exactly what is happening to you now. You are being prepared to recognize what is meant for you and what is not, prepared to move with intention instead of reaction, prepared to step into situations with clarity rather than uncertainty. This preparation does not always feel comfortable because it requires you to let go of old ways of thinking, old patterns of responding, and sometimes even old versions of yourself. But this discomfort is not a sign of something going wrong. It is a sign of something evolving. You are not becoming someone new. You are becoming more aware of who you have always been beneath the noise, beneath the distractions, beneath the habits that kept you operating at a lower level of perception. And as this awareness continues to rise, you will notice something else. Your need for stillness will increase. You will find yourself wanting less noise, less distraction, less unnecessary input. This is not withdrawal. This is refinement. Your spirit is learning to focus, to filter, to prioritize what truly matters. This is the awakening within you. And it is happening now because what is ahead requires it. You cannot move into what is coming with the same level of awareness you had before. You need clarity. You need discernment. You need the ability to recognize alignment without hesitation. And that is exactly what is being developed within you in this moment. Do not resist this shift. Do not question it as something negative. It is preparation. It is guidance. It is the beginning of seeing clearly. And once you see clearly, you will never return to the way you used to perceive things. Type "I trust my awareness" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 6060 is now activated. You have been feeling it build, even if you could not name it. A quiet pressure, not loud enough to alarm you, but persistent enough that you could not ignore it completely. Something has been reaching a point within your life, a point where what has been stable no longer feels secure, where what has been familiar no longer feels certain. This is not confusion. This is not instability. This is the edge of a shift. Every significant change begins long before it becomes visible. It starts beneath the surface, in places you cannot measure or track. Small adjustments begin to form. Patterns begin to weaken. Old structures begin to loosen their hold. And then, eventually, it reaches a breaking point, not a collapse, but a transition. A moment where what once held everything together can no longer remain the same. You are approaching that moment now. This is why things have felt intensified recently. Emotions may feel stronger than usual. Situations that you once handled easily now feel heavier. Conversations seem to carry more weight, more meaning, more consequence. It is as if everything around you is being amplified. This is not random. Amplification often comes right before transformation. It brings everything to the surface so it can no longer remain hidden. Archangel Michael stands firmly in this moment because the breaking point is not something you are meant to fear. It is something you are meant to recognize. Because when something breaks at the right time, it does not destroy. It releases. It clears space. It creates movement. It allows what had been held back to finally move forward. Think about what has felt stuck in your life. The areas where progress seemed slow, where clarity seemed just out of reach, where movement felt delayed. Those areas are not being ignored. They are being prepared. And preparation often looks like pressure before it looks like progress. You may feel like you are being pushed internally, as if something is urging you to make a decision, to change a direction, to step away from something or step toward something else. That push is not coming from restlessness. It is coming from alignment trying to take its place. The breaking point is where resistance meets readiness. For a long time, you may have held on to certain patterns because they were familiar. Certain ways of thinking, certain responses, certain connections that felt stable simply because they were known. But now, those same things may feel heavy, out of place, or difficult to maintain. This is not failure. This is transition. You are no longer meant to operate in the same way you did before. And this is where many hesitate. When the breaking point arrives, there is a natural instinct to hold on tighter, to try to stabilize what feels like it is shifting. But holding on to what is meant to change only increases the pressure. It delays the release that is necessary for movement. Archangel Michael's presence in this moment is steady because he is not reacting to the shift. He is prepared for it. He is positioned within it. He is aware of what is being released and what is about to emerge. And through his presence, you are being reminded that this moment is not chaos. It is structure rearranging itself. You are not losing control. You are being repositioned. There are things that can no longer remain the same because you have reached a level of awareness that no longer supports them. What once aligned with you no longer fits the direction you are moving toward. And rather than forcing those things to stay, this moment is allowing them to loosen, to break, to fall away in a way that makes space for something else. This is why the pressure feels so specific. It is not everywhere at once. It is focused in certain areas of your life. Those areas are where the shift is most active. Those are the points where change is no longer optional. And as this breaking point approaches, you may feel a mix of clarity and uncertainty at the same time. Clarity about what is no longer working, but uncertainty about what comes next. This is a natural part of transition. You are standing between what is ending and what is beginning. The important thing is not to rush forward or retreat backward. It is to remain present within the shift. Because what is about to emerge does not require force. It requires alignment. Archangel Michael is not asking you to control the outcome. He is asking you to recognize the moment, to see that something is shifting for a reason, to trust that what is breaking is making room for what is meant to come through. This is the moment where everything begins to move differently, where what felt delayed begins to find direction, where what felt uncertain begins to reveal clarity, where what felt heavy begins to release. But this only happens if you allow the shift to occur. Do not resist what is loosening. Do not cling to what is breaking. Do not fear what is changing, because this breaking point is not the end of something stable. It is the beginning of something aligned. And what comes after this moment will reflect how you respond within it. Stay aware. Stay present. Because the shift is already happening. Type "I embrace the shift" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 7070 is now activated. Right now, more than at any other point in this message, your attention is being tested. Not in an obvious way, not in a way that announces itself loudly, but in a quiet, persistent tension between staying present and drifting away. You may feel it even as you read. Subtle thoughts trying to pull you elsewhere. A slight urge to pause, to come back later, to divide your focus. That is not slujahikaki. That is the moment where alignment and distraction stand side by side, waiting for your decision. Because attention is not just focus. Attention is alignment. What you give your attention to, you align yourself with. What you allow to hold your focus begins to shape your perception, your decisions, and ultimately your direction. This is why this moment matters more than it appears. You are not simply listening. You are choosing what you will align with. Archangel Michael's presence becomes even more deliberate here, because distraction is not always loud. It does not always come in the form of obvious interruptions. Sometimes it comes as something harmless, a thought that feels reasonable, a delay that feels justified, a moment of disengagement that feels insignificant. But small moments of distraction, when they occur at critical points, can shift your alignment more than you realize. This is the test. Not a test of your strength, not a test of your worth, but a test of your awareness. Will you recognize the importance of this moment, or will you treat it like something you can return to later? Because alignment does not wait indefinitely. It presents itself in moments, and those moments require presence. When you are present, you receive clarity. When you are distracted, clarity fades. And often, people do not lose direction because they lacked guidance. They lose it because they were not fully present when the guidance arrived. You have likely experienced this before. A moment where something important crossed your path. Something that could have shifted your direction, but your attention was divided. And later, when you tried to revisit it, it did not carry the same clarity, the same weight, the same precision. That is because alignment is tied to timing. And right now, you are in a moment where timing matters. Distraction will try to convince you that this is not urgent, that you can step away, return later, think about it another time. It will present itself calmly, without pressure, almost as if it is protecting your time. But in reality, it is pulling you away from the exact moment where your awareness is meant to sharpen. This is not about fear. This is about recognition. Because when you recognize distraction for what it is, it loses its influence. Archangel Michael is not removing distraction for you. He is revealing it to you. He is allowing you to see the difference between what aligns with your awareness and what pulls you away from it. And that difference is subtle, but once you notice it, it becomes clear. Alignment feels steady. It holds your focus and deepens your awareness. It draws you further into understanding. Distraction feels scattered. It divides your focus. It interrupts your awareness. It pulls you away before clarity fully forms. And right now, you are being asked to choose. Not in a dramatic way, not through a single large decision, but through this moment. Through your willingness to remain present, to continue listening, to allow your awareness to fully engage with what is being revealed. Because what comes next in your life will require the same level of attention. There will be moments where clarity appears quietly, where guidance comes subtly, where direction is revealed not through loud signs but through internal knowing. And if your attention is easily pulled away, those moments can pass without being fully recognized. This is why this test is happening now. It is preparing you to hold your focus when it matters, preparing you to recognize alignment when it appears, preparing you to move with clarity instead of hesitation. You are not being asked to be perfect. You are being asked to be present, to notice when your attention begins to drift, to gently bring it back, to stay with a moment long enough for understanding to deepen. Because clarity does not arrive instantly. It unfolds. It reveals itself layer by layer, and each layer requires your attention to remain. Archangel Michael stands firm in this moment, not forcing your attention, but reinforcing the importance of it. He is showing you that what may seem small, your focus, your presence, your awareness, is actually foundational to everything that follows. If you can hold your attention here, you will be able to hold it when it matters even more. If you can recognize distraction here, you will be able to recognize it when the stakes are higher. If you can choose alignment here, you will begin to choose it consistently. This is the test of attention, and it is happening now, not to challenge you, but to strengthen your awareness. Stay here. Stay focused, because the moment you are in is shaping the direction you are moving toward. And your attention is the key that determines how clearly you will see what comes next. Type "I choose alignment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 8080 is now activated. There is something you must understand clearly in this moment, something that will shift the way you interpret everything that has been happening around you. You are not exposed. You are not unguarded. You have not been moving through these recent shifts alone. Even in the moments where things felt uncertain, even when clarity seemed distant, there has been a shield around you, active, intentional, and precise. And that shield is not passive. It is not symbolic. It is the presence of Archangel Michael operating in ways you could not fully see until now. Protection does not always look the way people expect it to. It is not always obvious. It does not always announce itself in dramatic ways. In fact, true protection often works quietly. It redirects without explanation. It blocks without visibility. It removes without warning. And because of that, it is often misunderstood. You may have thought certain things were taken from you, when in reality, they were intercepted. You may have believed certain opportunities slip away, when in truth, they were never meant to reach you in the first place. This is how protection operates when it is aligned with purpose. Archangel Michael does not simply stand beside you as a symbol of strength. He operates as a force of alignment, ensuring that what reaches you is what is meant for you, and what does not belong in your path is held back. There have been moments where you felt frustrated, questioning why something did not work out, why something changed suddenly, why something you expected did not unfold the way you planned. But what you could not see was what those moments were preventing. There were outcomes that would have pulled you out of alignment. There were situations that would have created confusion instead of clarity. There were connections that would have drained your energy instead of strengthening it. And without realizing it, you were guided away from them. This is the shield. It does not always feel comfortable, because it sometimes interrupts what you think you want. But it always aligns with what you actually need. And right now, you are being shown that the protection around you has been active for longer than you realized. Think about the moments where something felt off, where your intuition hesitated, where you sensed something was not quite right. Even if you did not fully understand it at the time, those moments were part of your protection. They were signals guiding you, subtle nudges redirecting you before you move it too far in the wrong direction. Archangel Michael reinforces those signals. He strengthens that awareness. He amplifies the difference between what aligns and what does not. And now that your awareness has begun to sharpen, that protection becomes even more precise. Because protection is not only about what is kept away from you, it is also about what is allowed to come through. There are things that are moving toward you right now that require you to be in the right position to receive them. Opportunities, clarity, direction. These are not random arrivals. They are aligned with where you are meant to be. And in order for them to reach you, other things must be held back. This is why the shield is active now more than ever. You are approaching a moment where what enters your life will carry weight. It will influence your direction, your decisions, your path forward. And because of that, not everything can be allowed through. Not every influence can be permitted. Not every connection can remain. Archangel Michael stands at that threshold, ensuring that what crosses into your space is aligned with your path. But here is where your awareness becomes essential. Protection is strongest when it is recognized. When you are aware of it, you begin to trust it. You begin to move with it instead of against it. You stop forcing what feels blocked. You stop chasing what does not align. You begin to see that resistance is not always something to overcome. Sometimes it is something to respect. This is a shift in understanding. Instead of asking why something is not working, you begin to ask what it is protecting you from. Instead of trying to push through every obstacle, you begin to observe whether that obstacle is actually guiding you in a different direction. And in doing so, you move in alignment with the protection rather than against it. Archangel Michael's presence is steady because his role is not reactive. He is not responding to events as they happen. He is positioned ahead of them. He is aware of what is forming before it reaches you. And because of that, his protection is not delayed. It is already in place. This is why you are being asked to trust what you feel, and pay attention to what aligns and what does not, to recognize that not everything that leaves your life is a loss. Some things are removed because they are not meant to continue with you. Some things are blocked because they do not belong in your next step. Some things are delayed because timing is still aligning. This is not random. This is protection in motion. And now that you see it, now that you understand it, you are no longer moving blindly. You are moving with awareness. You are moving with guidance. You are moving with a shield that has been there all along. And as you continue forward, that protection will not weaken. It will strengthen, because your awareness of it is growing. Stay aligned with it. Trust it. Because what is being guarded is not just your present, it is your path forward. Type "I trust divine protection" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 9090 is now activated. As you begin to understand the protection surrounding you, recognize this truth. Every time this message reaches another soul, that same protection begins to awaken in them. This is not about supporting a platform. It is about extending a covering, a light, a shield into lives that are still searching for clarity. The word declares, "The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade at your right hand." And right now, that promise is being activated through every act of giving. I feel this clearly. I am stepping forward to help carry this message where it is needed most. When you sow through Super Thanks with a PayPal link in the description and QR code, you are not giving. You are planting seeds into divine protection flowing into countless lives. This is a prophetic moment to act, not delay, because what you release now becomes a shield for someone else. And as you give, may protection, provision, and peace surround you in ways you cannot yet see. Step forward now and sow with purpose. There comes a point in every spiritual shift where holding on becomes more damaging than letting go. You are entering that point now. This is not a suggestion. This is not something you can postpone or revisit later. This is a defining moment where separation becomes necessary, not as loss, not as punishment, but as alignment. Because what you carry forward must match where you are being led, and right now, there are things still attached to you that no longer belong in your next step. You have felt it already. A quiet resistance within you when you engage with certain people, certain environments, certain patterns. The conversations that feel heavier than they used to. The spaces that drain you instead of grounding you. The habits that once comforted you but now feel misaligned. This is not confusion. This is clarity rising. Your awareness is no longer allowing you to remain connected to what does not support your direction. But here is where the challenge appears. Just because something no longer aligns does not mean it is easy to release. Familiarity as a way of holding your attention. History as a way of convincing you to stay. You may find yourself justifying why something should remain, telling yourself that it is not that serious, that you can manage it, that it does not need to change immediately. But deep down, you already know the truth. What no longer aligns must be released. Archangel Michael's presence in this moment becomes sharper, more direct, because separation requires clarity without hesitation. This is not about slowly drifting away from what does not serve you. This is about recognizing it and making a decision. Because delayed separation keeps you connected to what is already out of alignment. And remaining connected creates resistance in your path forward. There are connections in your life that have already served their purpose. They were necessary at a certain time. They played a role in your growth. But that role is complete. And holding on to them now does not preserve what was. It prevents what is coming. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into your next phase. Not every influence is meant to continue shaping your decisions. And not every environment is meant to remain part of your routine. This is where many struggle. They confuse attachment with alignment. They hold on to people, patterns, and places not because they are still right, but because they are familiar. But familiarity is not a reason to remain. Alignment is. You are being asked to separate from what no longer aligns, not because it is entirely wrong, but because it is no longer right for where you are going. This distinction matters. Because if you wait for something to become obviously negative before you release it, you will stay longer than necessary. But if you recognize when something simply no longer fits, you move with clarity instead of delay. There are also internal patterns that must be released. Ways of thinking that once made sense but now limit your perception. Reactions that once protected you but now hold you back. Expectations that no longer match the direction you are moving toward. These are not external attachments, but they are just as important to separate from. Because you cannot move forward carrying the same mindset that was built for a different stage of your life. Archangel Michael is not removing these things for you. He is revealing them to you. He is making it clear what is misaligned so that you can make the decision to release it. And that decision is where your power is. Separation is not always comfortable. It can feel uncertain. It can feel like stepping away without fully knowing what replaces what you are leaving behind. But this is where trust becomes essential. Because what you release creates space. And that space is not empty. It is prepared. Prepared for what aligns with your next step. Prepared for what strengthens instead of drains. Prepared for what supports your clarity instead of disrupting it. If you resist this separation, you will feel it. The pressure will remain. A misalignment will continue. The sense of something being off will not disappear. because awareness does not reverse once it hath been activated. You cannot unsee what you now recognize. This is why the timing matters. You are not being asked to wait. You are not being asked to observe indefinitely. You are being asked to act. Not impulsively, not emotionally, but with clarity. To acknowledge what you already feel. To trust what your awareness is showing you. To step away from what no longer fits without needing external confirmation. Because you already have the confirmation within you. Archangel Michael stands firm in this moment, not to make the decision for you, but to support you as you make it. To ensure that once you release what is misaligned, you do not feel unprotected or uncertain. Because separation does not leave you empty, it brings you into alignment. And alignment changes everything. What you allow to remain in your life shapes your direction. What you release clears your path. What you choose now will determine how smoothly you move into what is coming next. So do not hesitate. Do not delay. Do not hold on to what you already know you must release. Because this is your separation season. And what you let go of now will define what you are able to receive next. Type "I release what no longer serves me" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1010 is now activated. Now that you have recognized the shift, now that you have felt the urgency, now that you have seen what must be released, the moment arrives where instruction becomes clear. Because awareness without action creates delay, and delay in a moment like this can cause you to drift out of alignment. This is where everything begins to move from understanding into response. This is where you are no longer just listening, you are participating. What you must do right now is not complicated, but it requires intention. It requires you to become still in a way that is deeper than physical stillness. Not just slowing your movements, but quieting the noise that has been surrounding your thoughts. Because clarity does not compete with noise. It reveals itself when noise is removed. You have already been pulled into this moment. Now you must anchor yourself in it. Archangel Michael's presence becomes steady and direct here because instruction is not meant to be vague. It is meant to guide you precisely into alignment. And the first instruction is this: stop allowing your attention to scatter. You have already seen how distraction operates. You have already felt how easily your focus can shift. Now you must take control of it. Bring your awareness fully into the present. Do not let your mind drift into what has already passed or what has not yet arrived. What you need is here, in this moment. There is a reason this instruction comes now. Because what follows requires clarity, and clarity requires presence. The second instruction is to trust what has already been revealed to you. Not what you are still questioning, not what you are still analyzing, but what you already know. The subtle signals you have felt, the misalignments you have noticed, the shifts you have experienced. These are not things to ignore or revisit later. They are confirmations. And when confirmation is received, action must follow. You are not being asked to wait for more signs. You are being asked to respond to the ones you already have. This is where hesitation often appears. The desire to be completely certain before taking action. The urge to gather more clarity before moving. But understand this: clarity often deepens after action, not before it. Waiting for absolute certainty can keep you in a state of delay. Acting on what you already know moves you into alignment where further clarity can unfold. Archangel Michael is not guiding you into uncertainty. He is guiding you into trust. Trust in your awareness. Trust in what has been revealed. Trust in the alignment that is already forming around you. The third instruction is to create space. Not just physical space, but mental and emotional space. Space where clarity can settle. space where your awareness is not constantly interrupted, space where you can observe without reacting immediately. This does not require drastic change. It requires intention. It requires you to step back from unnecessary noise, unnecessary conversations, unnecessary influences that pull your focus away from what matters. Because what is being revealed to you now needs room to take shape. If your attention is constantly occupied, clarity has nowhere to settle. If your energy is constantly divided, alignment has nowhere to anchor. Creating space allows everything you have just recognized to organize itself into direction. The fourth instruction is to move with calm decisiveness. Not rushed, not reactive, not driven by pressure, but steady. When you make a decision based on alignment, you do not need to force it. You do not need to over-explain it. You do not need to seek validation from others. You simply move. Quietly, clearly, and with confidence that does not need to be proven. This is how alignment expresses itself. It does not demand attention. It does not create noise. It moves with certainty. Archangel Michael stands firm in this moment to reinforce that you are supported in this movement. You are not stepping forward alone. You are not navigating blindly. The same presence that have been guiding, protecting, and revealing is still active now. But guidance does not replace action. It works with it. This is where your role becomes clear. You have been shown what is shifting. You have been shown what must be released. You have been shown where your attention must remain. And now you must act accordingly. Not tomorrow. Not later. Now. Because this moment is not waiting for you to be ready. It is asking you to respond as you are. Everything you need to take the next step has already been placed within your awareness. You are not lacking information. You are not lacking guidance. You are not lacking support. You are being asked to trust it, to move with it, to align with it. Because what happens next is directly connected to what you do with this instruction. And this instruction is clear. Stay present. Trust what you know. Create space. Move with clarity. Do this, and you will find that what once felt uncertain begins to organize itself into direction. What once felt distant begins to come into reach. What once felt unclear begins to reveal itself step by step. This is the moment where everything begins to take form. And it begins with what you choose to do right now. Type "I move with clarity" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1111 is now activated. There is a direct connection between what you do in this moment and what unfolds next in your life. Not in a vague or symbolic way, but in a precise, cause and effect alignment that is already forming around you. This is not about reward or punishment. This is about response and outcome. Because when divine instruction meets willing action, something begins to shift that cannot be reversed back to what it was before. If you choose to obey what has been revealed to you, to stay present, to trust your awareness, to release what no longer aligns, and to move with clarity, you will begin to notice a change that is both subtle and undeniable. It will not arrive all at once, and it will not overwhelm you. It will unfold in layers, each one building upon the last, creating a sense of direction where there was once uncertainty. The first thing you will notice is clarity. Not forced clarity, not something you have to chase or overanalyze, but a natural understanding that settles within you. Decisions that once felt complicated will begin to feel straightforward. Situations that once confused you will begin to make sense. You will no longer feel the need to question every step, because your awareness will guide you before doubt has a chance to take hold. This clarity is not accidental. It is the result of alignment. When you remove distraction, when you release misalignment, When you follow instruction, your perception sharpens. And when your perception sharpens, confusion loses its place. This is the first outcome of obedience. The second thing you will experience is movement. Areas of your life that felt stagnant will begin to shift. Not in chaotic ways, but in steady progression. You will notice things starting to come together without forcing them. Opportunities may present themselves, but more importantly, you will recognize them clearly. You will no longer hesitate as much because your awareness will match the moment. This movement is not something you create alone. It is something you align with. Archangel Michael's presence remains active here, not just as protection, but as reinforcement. What has been prepared begins to move toward you as you move toward alignment. This is where timing and action meet, creating momentum. The third outcome is stability. Not the kind of stability that comes from everything staying the same, but the kind that comes from being centered, regardless of what changes around you. You will begin to feel less reactive, less pulled in different directions, less affected by external uncertainty. This does not mean challenges disappear. It means your response to them changes. You become grounded. You begin to move with intention instead of reaction. You begin to see beyond the immediate moment into what it connects to. This stability is what allows you to navigate what is ahead without losing your direction. The fourth outcome is alignment with what is meant for you. This is where things begin to feel different in a deeper way. You will notice that what enters your life begins to match your awareness. Conversations become more meaningful. Opportunities feel more relevant. Connections feel more aligned. You will no longer feel like you are forcing things to work. Instead, things begin to fit naturally. This is not luck. This is alignment. Because once you release what does not belong and respond to what is revealed, you create space for what does belong to enter. And when it enters, it does not feel forced. It feels right. But there is something else you must understand. This outcome is not automatic. It is conditional. Not conditional in a restrictive way, but in a responsive way. It is shaped by your willingness to follow through with what you have been shown. If you ignore this moment, if you return to distraction, if you hold on to what you know must be released, then the clarity will not settle, the movement will not stabilize, and the alignment will remain just out of reach. Not because it was taken from you, but because it requires participation. This is the part many overlook. They expect change without response. They expect clarity without stillness. They expect alignment without release. But what you have been given in this message is not just awareness. It is instruction. And instruction is meant to be followed. Archangel Michael stands firm in this outcome, not as a distant observer, but as an active presence within it. What you do now determines how fully you experience what is already being set in motion. The path ahead is not being created, it is being revealed, and your response determines how clearly you walk it. You are not at the beginning of something random. You are at the point where everything begins to come together, where awareness turns into direction, where direction turns into movement, where movement turns into outcome, and that outcome begins with what you choose now. This is your moment to step fully into alignment. Not partially, not later, but now. Because what is waiting on the other side of your obedience is already prepared, and it is closer than you think. Type "I step into alignment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1212 is now activated. This is where everything comes together. Not as theory, not as possibility, but as a living moment where your awareness, your attention, and your response converge into a single point of decision. You have been guided step by step to this place, not rushed, not forced, but intentionally led. And now, you stand at the edge of what comes next, fully aware that this moment carries weight beyond what is visible. This is the final warning, not in fear, but in clarity. Because now, you cannot say you did not know. You cannot say you were not shown. You cannot say you were not given the opportunity to align. What happens next in your life will not be random. It will not be disconnected from this moment. It will reflect the choice you make right now, whether you stay aligned with what has been revealed, or whether you drift back into distraction, delay, and hesitation. Archangel Michael's presence is unwavering here. Not louder, not more forceful, but more defined. Because this is not the moment for confusion. This is the moment for decision. And decision does not require endless thinking. It requires clarity and commitment. You have already felt what is shifting. You have already recognized what must be released. You have already understood where your attention must remain. You have already been given instruction. Now, everything rests on whether you follow through. There is a path in front of you that is aligned, protected, and prepared. A path where clarity continues to unfold, where movement becomes consistent, where what enters your life supports your direction instead of disrupting it. That path is not distant. It is not hidden. It is directly connected to your willingness to remain aligned with what you have just received. But there is also another path, a path where distraction slowly pulls you away, where hesitation delays your movement, where misalignment returns quietly, not all at once, but gradually. This path does not appear wrong at first. It feels familiar. It feels comfortable. It allows you to postpone decisions, to keep things as they are a little longer. But over time, it leads back to confusion, back to uncertainty, back to the same patterns you have already outgrown. This is why this moment matters. Because the difference between these two paths is not chance, it is choice. And that choice is happening now. Archangel Michael does not force you onto the aligned path. He stands at the point of decision, ensuring that you are aware of it, ensuring that you see clearly what each direction holds, ensuring that you understand that you are not without guidance, not without protection, not without support. But guidance only leads. It does not decide. You decide. And your decision does not have to be spoken out loud. It is reflected in your actions, in what you do after this moment, in whether you remain present or allow yourself to drift, in whether you act on what you know or return to what feels easier. This is the moment where intention becomes reality, where awareness becomes direction, where direction becomes outcome. And as you stand here, fully aware, fully present, there is also a blessing attached to this moment. Because when you choose alignment, something activates. Not instantly in a way that overwhelms you, but steadily in a way that supports you. Protection strengthens. Clarity deepens. Movement begins to organize itself around you. Things that once felt uncertain begin to settle into place. You begin to move forward with a sense of confidence that does not come from external validation, but from internal knowing. This is the blessing. Not something given randomly, but something activated through alignment. And it is available to you now. But it requires your response. It requires your decision to remain aligned, to trust what you have been shown, to move with clarity instead of hesitation. This is your final moment in this message. Not the end of what is happening, but the beginning of what follows. Do not treat it lightly. Do not dismiss it. Do not assume it will return in the same way. Because moments like this are precise. They arrive when everything is aligned for them to arrive, and they pass when their purpose has been fulfilled. You are in it now, and what you choose now will shape what comes next. Stay aligned. Stay aware. Stay present, because the path in front of you is ready, and the only thing left is your decision to walk it. Type "I choose the aligned path" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1313 is now activated. As this final moment settles into your spirit, understand this: every time you help carry this message forward, you become part of someone else's awakening, someone else's alignment, someone else's breakthrough. This is not about giving to a channel. It is about sowing into a harvest of souls being reached in their exact moment of need. The word speaks. Whoever refreshes others will himself be refreshed. And right now, that promise is speaking directly over you. I feel this strongly. I am stepping forward to be a vessel in this movement of light. When you give through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description and QR code, you are not donating. You are planting into lives that are being redirected, restored, and realigned. This is a prophetic act of obedience, and it carries urgency because someone's moment depends on it. As you release your seed, may your life be met with multiplied clarity, protection, and divine provision. Step forward now and sow with purpose.